At the family board meeting, my uncle demanded that I hand over the fiancée my grandfather had personally chosen for me to my cousin, right in front of all our relatives. It's for the good of the family trust. She's just a woman, Liam. You need to make this sacrifice, he said dismissively, as if he were discussing a piece of office furniture. My cousin sat nearby, the smirk on his face impossible to hide. He looked at me with a mixture of disdain and triumph, as if I were nothing more than a stepping stone he had already walked over. A chill ran through me, my blood feeling like it had turned to ice. I looked around at these so-called family members. Their greedy expressions reminded me of vultures waiting to pick a carcass clean. Just as I was about to snap and cause a scene, the heavy doors of the conference room swung open. A cool, commanding voice cut through the air. Sacrifice? Since when do the Sterlings get to decide who makes sacrifices for the Vance family? A woman in a bespoke, high-fashion suit walked in, radiating pure authority. Her gaze swept the room before locking onto me, her icy stare instantly melting into something softer. She walked right up to me, and in front of everyone, gently looped her arm through mine. She turned to my uncle and sneered. You think you're worthy of touching what's mine? Liam, transfer your engagement contract with the Vance family to your cousin Julian. Sitting at the head of the cold marble conference table, my uncle Marcus Sterling, the current acting chairman of Sterling Holdings, tossed the sentence out lightly. His tone was flat, as if he were merely commenting on the weather. But for me, it was like a lightning strike. I went rigid. Today was the Sterling family's quarterly meeting. Grandfather Arthur had been dead for 6 months, and Uncle Marcus had completely consolidated control over the company. And I, once grandfather's favorite, had become the most marginalized person in the dynasty. Uncle Marcus, what is that supposed to mean? My voice was raspy, my ears ringing in disbelief. What does it mean? Marcus leaned back in his leather chair, fingers interlaced over his stomach, looking like he held all the cards. You know the scale of Vanguard Capital. You know how critical this merger is for Sterling Holdings. Look at yourself. You've been out of college for 2 years, rotting in entry-level management, mediocre performance, 0 achievements. With every sentence, the grin on my cousin Julian's face widened. Sitting next to his father in a designer suit with a 6-figure watch on his wrist, Julian adjusted his tie and spoke with mock sympathy. Cousin, don't blame Dad. Serena Vance is a phoenix. You're just a sparrow. How could you possibly deserve her? You have to contribute something to the family legacy. My fists clenched under the table, nails digging into my palms. Mediocre performance? 0 achievements? When I first joined, I single-handedly closed a nightmare deal for the West Side redevelopment, bringing in nearly $100 million in profit. But at the celebration dinner, Marcus credited the entire success to Julian. The market expansion plan I spent 3 all-nighters perfecting appeared on Julian's desk the next morning, becoming the ticket to his promotion to director. For years, I had been their shadow, a tool for them to harvest fame and fortune. Now they want to take the last safeguard grandfather left me, my fiancée. Impossible. I stood up abruptly, my chair screeching against the floor. Grandfather personally arranged this marriage. What gives you the right to change it? Marcus's face darkened, and he slammed his hand on the table. Insolence. Liam, watch your tone. I'm the head of this family. I'm doing this for the Sterlings. My mother passed early, and my father had been stationed at an overseas branch for years, indifferent to family politics. This house had long been Marcus's dictatorship. It's just a woman. Is she worth all this fuss? My aunt, Vivian, chimed in with her shrill voice. Our Julian has the looks and the talent. Him marrying Miss Vance would be a true power couple. You just dead weight. Julian laughed arrogantly, shooting me a provocative look. Listen to reason, cousin. When I'm chairman, I won't let you starve. I was shaking with rage, nauseated by their hideous faces. These were my blood relatives, yet they would sacrifice me without hesitation for profit. They hadn't even asked for the opinion of the fiancée I had never met. To them, women and marriages were just chips on a poker table. Just then, the heavy conference room doors creaked open, drawing everyone's attention. A tall silhouette stood against the backlight. She wore a perfectly tailored white suit, her hair pulled back to reveal a flawless forehead and exquisite features. Her beauty was aggressive, her eyes cold, her presence so powerful the air in the room seemed to freeze. I was stunned. Although I'd never seen a photo, instinct told me this was Serena Vance. Marcus and Julian obviously recognized her too, their faces instantly plastered with fawning smiles as they scrambled to stand. Ms. Vance, what brings you here? Please, seat. Marcus rubbed his hands together, eagerly pulling out the chair next to him. Serena didn't even glance at him. Her heels clicked rhythmically on the floor as she walked straight toward me. Every step seemed to hammer into everyone's hearts. To the shock of the entire room, she stopped in front of me. Then, she did something that made everyone's eyes nearly pop out of their skulls. She leaned in slightly, reached out a slender hand, and gently brushed a speck of non-existent dust from my shoulder. She lifted her eyes, looking at the Sterling family, whose faces had turned the color of raw liver. Just now, I thought I heard someone say they wanted to swap out my fiancé. Serena's voice wasn't loud, but it exploded in the silent conference room like a grenade. My fiancé? She meant me. My head buzzed, my mind going blank. Marcus's smile froze, looking more painful than a sob. Ms. Vance, you misunderstood. We were just joking. Joking? Serena laughed coldly, her beautiful phoenix eyes full of mockery. Joking about my marriage? You have some nerve, Chairman Sterling. She turned her head, her gaze landing on Julian. Julian squirmed under her scrutiny, forcing a smile he thought was charming, and extended his hand. Hello, Ms. Vance. I'm Julian, Liam's cousin. Pleasure to meet you. Serena didn't even lift her eyelids, completely ignoring his hand hovering in midair. The atmosphere became excruciatingly awkward. Julian didn't know whether to retract his hand or keep it there, his face flushing red. Director Sterling, was it? Serena suddenly spoke. Julian's eyes lit up, thinking she was interested, and nodded furiously. Yes. Does Ms. Vance have any advice? I heard the West Side redevelopment project you led last month was a massive success. Julian straightened his spine, energized. You flatter me, Ms. Vance. Just a small achievement. That was my project. I screamed internally. The corner of Serena's mouth curled into a playful arc. Is that so? But to my knowledge, the core creative strategy of that project was based on reverse consumer psychology. And the original author of that proposal seems to be Liam Sterling. As she spoke, she pulled a tablet from her bag, tapped it a few times, and turned it toward the room. The screen displayed a document, clearly signed with my name, Liam Sterling. Julian's face went sheet white instantly. Marcus panicked. Ms. Vance, that is internal company data. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. Aside from being Liam's fiancé, I am also the second largest shareholder of Sterling Holdings. Vanguard Capital invested in the West Side project. Therefore, I have the right to audit every detail. Second largest shareholder? Since when? How did I not know? The conference room was dead silent. Aside from the immediate family, Sterling shares rarely leaked. Grandfather had held them tight. Serena looked at the dumbstruck father and son and continued. So, Chairman Sterling, Director Sterling, can you explain why Liam's credit became Julian's? It's a misunderstanding. The staff below mixed it up. I'll investigate immediately. Right. Ms. Vance, my cousin and I are close. What does his mind? We don't keep score. I almost laughed out loud at his shamelessness. Serena wasn't about to let them off the hook. She stepped closer to me, and in front of everyone, naturally linked her arm through mine again, an intimate gesture. I stiffened, catching the faint scent of her perfume. Chairman Sterling, you just said you wanted to give me to this person. She tilted her chin toward Julian, her tone dripping with disgust. Marcus choked. Serena turned to me. The eyes that were sharp as ice a moment ago melted into a pool of spring water. Darling, I'm sorry you had to endure this. She patted the back of my hand, her voice so tender it could drip honey. The sudden contrast made my heart skip a beat. Immediately, she turned back to the crowd, radiating power again, every word hitting the floor with weight. Listen clearly. Liam Sterling is the man I, Serena Vance, have chosen. This engagement was set by my grandfather and his grandfather. Touching him means touching Serena Vance and the entire Vance family. You think you're worthy of touching what's mine? Serena's words were like a slap across the faces of Marcus and Julian. The Sterling relatives were silent as winter cicadas, terrified to breathe. They looked at Serena holding my arm, then at the ashen-faced Julian, their eyes filled with complex emotions, shock, jealousy, and disbelief. No one could figure out why the princess of the Vance dynasty would defend a loser like me. Marcus, face alternating between green and white, forced a smile. Ms. Vance, you exaggerate. We're all family. Why would we make things hard for Liam? He's just introverted. We were afraid he might neglect you. Is that so? Serena raised an eyebrow. He looks fine to me. 1,000,000 times better than someone who steals credit and tries to steal other people's fiancés. This stripped the last layer of dignity from Julian's face. Gritting his teeth, unwilling to accept defeat, Julian said, Ms. Vance, You might not know Liam well enough. Shut up. Serena cut him off coldly. I don't need an outsider to tell me about my fiancé. She grabbed my hand and turned to leave. Liam, let's go. The air here is stale. I'm taking you to dinner. I let her pull me out of the conference room, leaving behind Marcus's furious growls and the relatives' whispers. Even as I sat in the back of her Bentley, my brain was still foggy. The car was spacious, filled with the same faint scent she wore. Thank you for back there. I broke the silence first. If she hadn't shown up, I would have been eaten alive by those wolves. Serena turned to look at me, removing the sunglasses that gave her such an imposing aura, revealing clear, bright eyes. Without the sharp edge, she looked softer. No need to thank me. We're engaged. Helping you is expected, isn't it? She said matter-of-factly. I gave a bitter smile. But we just met today. Not the first time. She shook her head, looking at me with an emotion I couldn't place. We met when we were kids in Grandfather Arthur's study. You gave me a butterscotch candy, remember? I paused, searching my memory. There actually was something like that. I was maybe 7 or 8. A pretty little girl with pigtails was crying at our house, and to comfort her, I gave her the only candy in my pocket. That was her. You remember that? Of course. Serena smiled, like warm sun breaking through winter ice. That was the sweetest candy I ever had. She paused, then continued. Liam, I know you have questions about the engagement and the shares. Our marriage isn't just a business merger. She pulled a document from her bag and handed it to me. I took it, my pupils contracting as I read. It was a stock transfer agreement and a supplementary clause. The agreement stated that on the day I turned 18, Grandfather had secretly transferred 20% of his Sterling Holdings shares to the Vance family to hold in trust. The supplementary clause was clear. This 20% would return to my name as a wedding gift upon my marriage to Serena Vance, along with another 10% from the Vance family. And the sole designated beneficiary of the engagement was me, Liam Sterling. It cannot be changed. If the Sterling family unilaterally broke the engagement or tried to switch the groom, the Vance family would immediately divest and initiate a hostile takeover of Sterling Holdings. My hands trembled holding the paper. This was Grandfather's final trump card for me. He knew Marcus would come for me after he was gone, so he left me a way to fight back. And Serena was my most important ally. So, my uncle and the others don't know this clause exists. Serena nodded. They only know about the marriage and the investment, not that you are the prerequisite for everything. My heart swelled, eyes stinging. Grandfather Arthur was a wise man, Serena said softly. He loved you very much. He wanted you to stand on your own feet, but he also paved the road for you. I took a deep breath to steady myself. Serena, thank you. This time, my gratitude was profound. Call me Serena, she corrected. We're getting married soon, aren't we? With Serena backing me, my uncle's family backed off for a while. The next day, Marcus publicly clarified the ownership of the West Side project at a company meeting, returning the credit to me. Of course, he claimed it was an internal process error and glossed over Julian's plagiarism. Julian was demoted but still strutted around the company. I knew they were just lying in wait. Julian, especially, looked at me with venom and resentment. That afternoon, Serena messaged me about a business gala that night. Consider it a warm-up for our engagement. Let everyone see who you are, she said over the phone. I agreed. I put on the bespoke suit Serena sent over. In the mirror, I looked sharper, more live. The gala was packed with elites. Serena became the center of attention the moment she arrived, wearing a backless black gown, elegant as a swan. Holding my arm, she introduced me gracefully. Everyone, let me introduce my fiancé, Liam Sterling. Instantly, eyes filled with curiosity, shock, and jealousy landed on me. I heard the whispers. That's the outcast grandson? How'd he land the Vance heiress? He looks so average. Why him? I accepted the scrutiny calmly. Standing beside Serena meant enduring this. Suddenly, a jarring voice interrupted. Cousin, sister-in-law, you made it. I turned to see Julian approaching with 2 flutes of champagne and a fake smile. He was dressed to the nines, trying to reclaim his territory. Serena's face went cold. Who is your sister-in-law? Julian's smile faltered, but he pushed on. Don't be mad. We're family. Just a slip of the tongue. I'm not family with you, Serena retorted mercilessly. Julian's face turned ugly. His eyes darted around, and suddenly he stumbled, pretending to lose his balance. The champagne in his hand launched straight towards Serena's gown. Whoops! Watch out, he cried, a gleam of malice in his eyes. It was such a cliché trick. Spill a drink, apologize, wipe it off, get close, and show off his gentlemanly nature while making me look incompetent. I moved to block it, but Serena was faster. As if she anticipated it, she sidestepped gracefully. Splash. Both glasses of champagne landed entirely on Julian's expensive suit. The liquid dripped down his pants, making him look pathetic. The hall went silent, followed by stifled laughter. "Oh my, Director Sterling, why so clumsy?" Serena asked with a look of innocent concern. "Staining such an expensive carpet isn't good." She plucked a napkin from a passing waiter's tray and held it out to him. "Clean yourself up. Looking like a drowned rat might make people think Sterling employees can't even walk straight." Julian turned purple. He tried to humiliate Serena, but ended up the laughingstock. He glared at me with eyes that could breathe fire, as if this was all my fault. Julian fled the gala amidst the ridicule. After the minor drama, the party continued. Serena pulled me to a quiet balcony. The night breeze blew away the smell of alcohol. "You tried to block that for me just now, didn't you?" she asked suddenly. I nodded. "Yeah, didn't want him ruining your dress." Serena looked at me, her eyes sparkling under the moonlight. "Liam, did you know I have a condition?" "What condition?" "I have a severe allergy to the opposite sex," she whispered, like it was a secret. "If an unfamiliar man gets within 3 feet of me, I get palpitations, tight chest, even hives." I was shocked. "That's serious?" "Then Julian, just now." "That's why I dodged," she smiled. "I didn't want to go to the hospital for him." I realized then that her quick reaction wasn't just because she disliked him. "Then, what about me?" I asked hesitantly. We were standing very close, sharing the same air. Serena blushed slightly. She didn't answer but took a step closer. The distance between us was less than 4 inches. She looked up into my eyes. "It's strange. I'm not allergic to you." Her voice was soft, brushing against my heart like a feather, creating ripples. Looking at her face so close to mine, my heart raced. I couldn't tell if it was the binding contract or the girl herself. I just knew I was falling. After the party, Serena drove me home. Her car stopped beneath my rented apartment in an old building, looking at a place. "You live here?" Serena frowned. "Yeah, for now." I felt a bit embarrassed. "Move," she commanded. "Tomorrow my assistant will find you a better place, closer to my office." "Convenient for..." She paused, searching for the right words. "Convenient for us to cultivate feelings." I chuckled. "Is this fulfilling a contractual obligation?" "Isn't it?" she retorted, a sly look in her eyes. "Liam, I'm not just helping you because of Grandfather Arthur. I want to help you take back everything that belongs to you." And then, I pressed. "And then," she looked at me earnestly. "Then we get married. Not a fake business marriage, but a real one." Warmth flooded my body. Since Grandfather died, no one had spoken to me like that. "Okay." I nodded firmly. The next day, I was summoned to Marcus's office. He looked terrible, eyes bloodshot. "Liam, what kind of potion did you feed Serena Vance?" he demanded. "I didn't do anything, Uncle." "Nothing." He slammed the desk. "You made Julian a laughingstock. The whole circle is mocking the Sterlings." "He was clumsy. How is that my fault?" "You." Marcus pointed a shaking finger at me. Eventually, he calmed down and put on a mask of paternal concern. "Liam, we are family. Bones may break, but tendons remain connected. I admit I was harsh, but it was for your own good. Julian is your cousin. If he succeeds, the family succeeds, and you benefit." I watched his performance, finding it laughable. "Just say what you want, Uncle." Marcus took a breath and revealed his hand. "Proceed with the marriage. But after the wedding, transfer all the shares the Van Sass give you to Julian's management. We won't mistreat you. You'll get a hefty dividend every year. You'll be set for life." There it was. Since they couldn't steal the bride, they'd steal the shares. I laughed coldly. "And if I refuse?" "Refuse." Marcus's face darkened instantly, his eyes turning vicious. "Liam, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. You think Serena Vance can protect you forever? Don't forget, your last name is Sterling. As long as you are in this family, you listen to me." He practically roared the last sentence. I looked at him calmly. "Uncle, perhaps you forgot. I am Grandfather's grandson too. Sterling Holdings doesn't belong to you alone." I turned and left, ignoring his rage. The negotiations had failed. I knew they would stoop lower. Sure enough, the next day, a transfer order came down. I was moved from the core project department to the records room. A basement job sorting old files, a graveyard for careers. They were pulling the rug out from under me, trying to make me a true nobody. Former colleagues looked at me with pity or schadenfreude. Julian came to the basement to gloat, leaning against the doorframe. "Getting used to it, cousin? It's quiet down here. Perfect for a useless retirement." I ignored him, sorting files. "TSK. You know, I took over the Reynolds account you were working on." "Mr. Reynolds said he only deals with me, not some green kid." I froze. The Reynolds deal was a beast I spent 2 months taming. Julian, you're despicable. Haha, all is fair in war. He laughed wildly. Hand over the shares, Liam, where your suffering is just beginning. After he left, I texted Serena. She replied instantly. Don't worry. Stay put. Watch the show. Watch the show. I trusted her. For days, I stayed in the basement. Julian, meanwhile, bragged about signing the Reynolds contract. Everyone thought I was finished. On signing day, Marcus and Julian invited the press to the main conference room. Julian sat at the head of the table, arrogant and ready. But the time came and went. Mr. Reynolds didn't show. 30 minutes later, Julian's phone rang. It was Reynolds' secretary. Julian answered with a smile. Hey, where's Mr. Reynolds? We're ready. He paused, his smile cementing into a rictus of horror. What? Cancelled? Why? What do you mean, no integrity? Hello. The line went dead. Julian stood there, pale as a ghost. The reporters began to whisper. What happened? Marcus asked frantically. He's not signing, Julian stammered. Just then, the doors opened. Serena and I walked in side by side. To their shock, Serena smiled at the cameras. Friends of the press, allow me to introduce the new strategic partner for Vanguard Capital and Mr. Reynolds' firm. The joint project lead will be the man beside me, Mr. Liam Sterling. Serena's announcement hit the room like a bomb. Julian was the first to react, screaming, Impossible. Why would Reynolds choose you? You're a reject in the basement. Mr. Reynolds walked in from behind us, ignoring Julian completely, and extended a hand to me. Liam, my boy, good to see you. That market analysis you did was brilliant. I studied it for days. I shook his hand. You're too kind, Mr. Reynolds. Julian was dumbfounded. Mr. Reynolds, what does this mean? We had a deal. Reynolds glanced at him with a scoff. Director Sterling, we had a preliminary talk. What did I agree to sign? Besides, Reynolds added pointedly, I value character in business. I don't trust a man who steals his cousin's work. Julian drained of color. Reynolds knew everything. Marcus looked at me, then at the calm Serena, and realized the truth. You sabotaged us. Serena laughed. Chairman, how is this sabotage? It's called survival of the fittest. Mr. Reynolds simply chose a more capable, trustworthy partner. Marcus was speechless. His plan to bury me in the archives had backfired because I didn't need Sterling Holdings' platform. With Serena, I could build my own. The cameras flashed, capturing the father and son's humiliation. Tomorrow, the headlines would be about Sterling's internal strife and incompetence. I was no longer the pushover. Walking out, I felt lighter. Thank you, I said to Serena. Thank you again. She rolled her eyes playfully. Helping you is helping me. We're in the same boat. What about Reynolds? I asked. He's an old friend of my dad's, she explained. I just made a call, sent him your original proposal, and mentioned your situation. He's smart. He knew who to pick. I understood. This was the power of real influence. What now? She asked. My eyes hardened. They wanted to marginalize me? Then I'll take back what's mine from the outside, piece by piece. Good, she nodded. Then she leaned into my ear. When you take back Sterling Holdings, we get married. Her warm breath tickled my ear. I nodded. It's a promise. With Vanguard's backing, I started my own firm. In 3 months, I landed massive deals. Meanwhile, Sterling Holdings bled money without Reynolds. Marcus was frantic, Julian a laughingstock. The fickle relatives started calling me, sucking up. I knew they were scared. The engagement party was set for this precise moment. A 5-star hotel ballroom, packed with the elite. Marcus and his family arrived, smiles plastered on, bearing gifts. Liam, congratulations, Marcus said, playing the benevolent uncle. I was too strict before. Forgive me. Cousin, sister-in-law, happiness to you both, Julian toasted, smiling. I played along, knowing this was their last stand. Halfway through, we went on stage to exchange rings. As I picked up the ring, the massive screen behind us lit up. A video started playing. A scantily clad woman was crying. Liam Sterling, you heartless jerk. You dumped me to climb the social ladder with the Van Cess. You forgot our promises. The background was a dim hotel room. The man's figure looked like mine. Then pixelated compromising photos flashed up. The crowd gasped. Disgust filled the room. Serena's parents looked furious. I clenched my fists. I didn't know this woman. It was a setup. I looked down at Julian. He was smirking, mouthing the words. Game over. Silence. As the room descended into chaos, Serena grabbed the microphone, her voice piercing the noise. Everyone froze, waiting to see if the princess would storm off or dump me. Serena stood calm, her hand gripping mine, transferring warmth and strength. She looked at the screen with razor-sharp eyes. Such a clumsy smear campaign. Julian, do you think everyone is as stupid as you? Julian's face shifted. Ms. Vance, the evidence is right there. Are you protecting this cheater? Cheater? Serena scoffed. You say that's Liam, so it must be Liam? She pulled a USB drive from her clutch and handed it to a technician. Play this. The screen changed. High-definition security footage from the hotel hallway appeared. A man resembling me walked into the room with the woman. But when he turned, the camera caught his profile perfectly despite the hat. It was Julian. The crowd gasped again. Impossible. Julian shrieked. That's fake. Photoshop. Fake. Serena laughed. That's police-grade surveillance. Shall I call the cops to verify? She played the next clip. Julian paying the woman in a cafe. Mr. Sterling, once the job is done. The woman asked. Don't worry. Julian's voice was clear. Just destroy Liam's reputation. The truth was out. Julian had hired a look-alike woman and framed me. You. Julian pointed at Serena, shaking. He couldn't understand how his perfect plan failed. Serena ignored him and looked at a pale Marcus. Chairman Sterling, this is the son you raised. Destroying his cousin for money. What a family. What an heir. Marcus couldn't speak. The Sterling reputation was in tatters. But Serena wasn't done. Originally, I wouldn't air dirty laundry. But since you want to play dirty, she projected a document. A DNA paternity test. Subjects, Marcus Sterling and Julian Sterling. Result, no biological relation. Marcus, Serena said coldly, you sacrificed your nephew for this son. But did you know? The boy you raised for 20 years isn't yours. The DNA report hit the Sterling family like a nuclear warhead. Marcus stared at the screen, swaying on his feet. No. Impossible. It's fake, he roared, sounding like a wounded animal. My Aunt Vivian screamed, lunging forward. Serena, you bitch. You forged this. Forged? Serena looked down at her with pity. Shall I release the details of your affair 20 years ago with the CEO of Horizon Corp, your husband's biggest rival? Vivian's scream died in her throat. She looked terrified. Marcus turned to her slowly, betrayal and humiliation consuming him. It's true. He collapsed into a chair. The son he favored, the reason he betrayed his family, was the spawn of his enemy. He was the biggest joke in the city. Dad, don't believe her. Julian rushed to him. Marcus shoved him away with disgust. Don't touch me. You bastard. Get out. He lunged at his wife. You poison woman. I'll kill you. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Screams, fights, security rushing in. The Sterlings were dragged out. The guests looked at me with awe. Serena fixed my collar. Sorry I ruined the party. I shook my head and held her hand. No, it was the best gift ever. She had cleared my name and cut out the cancer rotting my family. How did you know? I asked. Julian acts too much like that old fox at Horizon. I got curious. She shrugged. Didn't expect to hit the jackpot. I knelt on one knee in the emptying hall. Serena Vance, will you marry me? She teared up and nodded. I will. I slid the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit. The scandal decimated Sterling Holdings. The stock evaporated. Marcus resigned in disgrace, hospitalized by the shock. Julian and his mother were cast out, disappearing into the night. Even the CEO of Horizon Corp resigned amidst the fallout. I stepped into the vacuum. With 30% of the shares and Vance backing, I entered the board. The uncles who once ignored me voted me in as chairman unanimously. I didn't hesitate. This was my legacy. On day one, I purged Marcus's cronies. I revived the old projects and brought back Reynolds. Within 2 weeks, the stock stabilized. The employees looked at me with respect. I wasn't the useless grandson anymore. My era had begun. Late one night, Serena walked into my office with coffee. Still working. Almost done. I pulled her onto my lap. This is nothing compared to before. You did it, Liam. We did it. I hugged her. So, she looked up. When is the wedding? I kissed her. Tomorrow. City Hall. We didn't have a big wedding. After the drama, we wanted peace. We signed the papers and had a simple dinner with close family. My father flew back, eyes full of guilt. Liam, I'm sorry. It's in the past, Dad. My father-in-law handed me a document at dinner. Liam, a wedding gift. It was a 10% transfer of Vanguard shares. Dad, I can't. I protested. You're half my son now, he insisted. Plus, it helped the merger. Take it, Serena urged. I accepted. Later, at our new villa overlooking the ocean, we stood on the balcony. What are you thinking? She hugged me from behind. That this feels like a dream. It's not. She kissed my cheek. You earned it. I turned and held her. Serena, I got the best gift of all. What? You? She smiled, bright as the stars. The road ahead would be tough, but with her, I was invincible. Story complete.